an active shooter. We're getting multiple calls from 345 Park Avenue.
Tonight, police swarming this skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan after at least 2 people were shot, 1 police officer and 1 civilian, according to 2 senior law enforcement officers. 4 senior New York City officials say the suspected gunman, Shane Devin Tamura of Las Vegas, is dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound on the 33rd floor of the building. Earlier, the NYPD circulated this photo of a person with a long gun they say they were searching for in connection with the shooting, according to 3 senior law enforcement sources. The building, 345 Park Avenue, is the headquarters of the NFL, Blackstone, and accounting firm KPMG.
This is Blackstone headquarters, 345 Park Avenue.
Park Avenue is just down that way. I was just speaking to one man who did not want to appear on camera. He told me that his wife is inside the building. She's on the 23rd floor. She says she's okay, but he's waiting for her to get out. Tonight, there is a massive police presence, but the NYPD says the scene is contained.
Aaron joins us now live.
When the notification came over from the police commissioner that we had a number of shots fired, and we're still unraveling what took place. And our hearts are heavy. 5 innocent people shot tonight. We lost 4 souls to another senseless act of gun violence. Bangladesh. And he loved this city. Dead. 2 males and 1 female, and another male is seriously injured.
If they need to do further treatments, we'll have to. They'll take them out when they're in there today. If they see if there's irregular cells in them.
Oh, while they're in. Oh, God.
Just the lymph nodes, like around the bladder area. It shouldn't have. Just because I don't know if you know anything about like when cancer gets in the lymph nodes, it spreads like wildfire. Yeah, because there's like so many.
They couldn't check that before since.
Well, they wouldn't have taken them out at the first one.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. Again, we start with the video there, Niel, of the shooting. It's mass shooting again.
Peace and love, everybody. Welcome to Let It Be Known. And yes, there's a lot to talk about this morning. As we started, mass shooter in New York. His name is Shane Donovan, 27 years old. He did leave a suicide note, and he's blaming the NFL, CTE, 4 people dead, including 1 police officer. Tragic. And of course, we'll get to Deion Sanders a little bit later in the show.
Yeah, it is tragic. Folks will do this and then take their own lives, as in apparently in this case, and often say, why don't you just take your own life and leave? Well, what I'm saying, we don't take anybody else's life. If you're gonna, you know, you're gonna end your life, just end it. You know, you're killing these people, and obviously it's to make a statement. It's obviously to leave a statement. He left, like you said, a note. He talked about his CTE, and he wanted them to look into his brain, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, you ruined so many lives because of your anger, uncontrollable anger, and you know, there's no excuse for that behavior. Obviously he got some mental problems, but I'm not going to put it all on mental health. When a person decides to do something like that, they're of their right mind. They know what they're doing, in my opinion. And this guy, you know, unfortunately they didn't take him out before he took others out and himself. So it's always a cowardly act to do that. But what also kills me, on a little bit of a lighter note, is the reporting and the reporter. You know, she's like so dramatic, and they got the streets closed off. It's contained. It's like, get a life, lady. Golly, I had to say that. That's just how I feel about it. You know, I've been watching news all my life, been doing news for for a little bit more than half my life. And I've never liked that. You know, you're overly dramatic, and I just think it adds even more, for me, it adds more furor to situations like that. Just listen, you inform people, and that you let it be known, and that's that.
Mm.
Golly. Anyway, that's really sad, folks, and whoever the victims are and their families, certainly my heart goes out to them,
Mhm.
for sure.
Most definitely.
Um, and now turn our attention to uh, what unfolded in Baltimore yesterday. Lawmakers arrived at the George H. Fallon Federal Building in Baltimore to inspect ICE holding rooms, only to be denied entry. And we keep saying this over and over again. Members of Congress, including Senator Van Hollen, Senator Alsobrook, and Representative Kwasi Mfumi, were directed not to enter, even though federal law authorities is their oversight. This is their oversight. This is what their part of what their job is. And again, we've seen it in New Jersey, where a lawmaker was actually arrested. The mayor was arrested in Newark. We saw it in Florida. What are you hiding? We know what you're hiding. The jig
Mhm.
was up from the beginning.
Right.
So they continue anyway to stop these lawmakers from doing their jobs and inspecting these concentration camps.
100%. I know yesterday, over in Tennessee, Justin Jones had the same experience. So this seems to be happening for lawmakers, Democratic lawmakers across the country. There was a private fundraiser with Elon Musk for wanting to build some type of site that might be detrimental to this particular district that Justin Jones represents. Now, if you remember, Justin Jones is one of the Tennessee Three. And so the governor has granted this facility to be built by Elon Musk in his district. And they have a private fundraiser in his district. He goes to the event and is denied access to enter. And I think that's just another example of him, what is happening to Democratic lawmakers. It basically says he says that he was blocked from entering the event at the airport Hilton with Elon Musk Boring Company announcing the Nashville airport tunnel with the state, which is in his district. And he's denied access to attend because they don't want anything contrary when he just wants to get in the building to find out what's going on in his district. So now you have lawmakers on a local and state level that are Republican led doing things in elected officials' districts, and they still have no say on it. And so this just continues to be a problem, not just on a federal level, but on a state level. And of course, the question is, what can we do about it?
Dr. Nicole says that hopefully at some point all of these ICE agents will be prosecuted as the Nazi agents were. And, that's looking down the road into the future. If there's a change in the administration, and if there's a change in the administration, you can only hope that they will be as aggressive and doing these things, like including what Dr. Nicole says, as this administration is of undoing things.
Right. But the deeper dive into the conversation is we're less than now 100 days away from the first election that will begin to overturn the Trump administration. And I'm talking about state and federal elections. We're talking about members of Congress. We're talking about governors. We're talking about states, assembly members, state senators. These elections are coming up next year. And so the only hope you have is to be able to combat the Trump Klan administration, is to change what Congress looks like, to change what your governors look like, to change what your state electeds look like. And so it's like, well, what are we going to do? The question is, what is the Democratic Party going to do to make sure that people understand that in order to even begin to change what's happening with that Trump administration is to start voting these Congress member and state electeds that are Republicans out of office?
You're going to have people who you say that, and I'm sure it resonates with a good portion of folks, but you're going to have people who are going to say, as things continue to decline and get worse, they're going to say, does it really matter when He's threatening to arrest judges who go against him. They're threatening to investigate and arrest this judge who went against his deportation policy. The judge ruled against him and Trump, and now they're threatening to arrest him for obstruction of justice. So when you get to that point, Neil, what I'm saying is that you may have a good faction of people say, does it really matter?
Well, it does matter, because if you flip Congress, then you can control what gets to Donald Trump's desk. You can control what happens from a governor's perspective if you get rid of the governor. If you change the body of your state leaders, the assembly and state senators, you can change things. And so, I mean, that's what happens.
Well,
Donald Trump controls Congress. He has the executive branch and he has the Supreme Court. Democrats have no three bodies. And then the fourth state, which is the press, Donald Trump is controlling that. And so you're going to have to take control of one of those three branches of government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, well, again, devil's advocate, he has not necessarily used Congress to accomplish his dirty deeds.
Congress has definitely supported him. That Mike, what's his name? The speaker.
Yeah, Mike Johnson. Right.
Yeah, Mike Johnson. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely supporting. I mean, that's just how government works. That's how government works.
No, you're not educating us on that one, Neil. We know how government works. What I'm saying is that he has gone around when necessary and often. I mean, he's pressured them to pass his beautiful bill or ugly bill. But that's it, really. I mean, he's gone around them on so many things that you generally let's just take from the top the firing of all these federal employees. That was supposed to go through Congress. Congress didn't act on that whatsoever. Nothing was sent to Congress.
Yeah, but the reason why he's able to do it is because he controls Congress, and the Republicans hold the majority. And so they're not going to buck up against him. And so he has all the power. You have to take some of his power away. He has all of the power. So when he does an executive order, who's going to check him, boo? It ain't going to be Congress, because he controls Congress.
Correct. You're correct in that for sure. He controls them, but again, there's things you control that you don't use. He has not really used Congress, is what I'm saying. And he's gone around. We know the most important thing from my view that you said was that he has a Supreme Court, and unless and until that changes, nothing else is going to really change, because, and I know the way to change that is to have the right Congress people, the right senators in place. But they have protected and will continue. They've shown they're going to continue to protect this man.
That's the point. So you flip Congress, and then he doesn't have that layer of protection.
Okay. Well, again,
and you have to vote, and people have to vote. People have to get out. They have to vote. And so this is how democracy works. So if you're not voting, then
we don't have a democracy anymore.
I said this is how democracy works. I said it's how it works. I didn't say we had a democracy. I said this is how it works.
Miguel, you should know be mine now. I'm just messing with you. That's all. We don't have a democracy, but I know how democracy works.
I mean, I'm just saying this is how it works. And so in order to take some of his power away, you have to control one of the branches. And you're not going to do it with the Supreme Court, because he has the power to control that. But even if a justice was to die, let's just say, or they were to retire, he controls Congress. So of course they're going to vote his way. So you have to take back Congress, which goes back to my initial point, is that we are less than 100 days away from the first election that can begin to switch the trajectory of the state of this nation. And so people have to vote. People have to get involved, and people have to begin to change the landscape of what they're doing. And and I hear what you're saying, but if the elections weren't so important, if the midterms weren't so important, then why is the Republican Party trying to block people from voting?
Well, see,
Him
that's
controlling Congress is
mhm,
very important. That's why they're
yeah.
trying to break it up and bust it up now, because they know if Democrats take over Congress, it's gonna mess up his nice little tea party.
It's Tea Party. That's the see, and that's the point of this conversation of me playing, as I said, devil's advocate, because you can best believe that there are going to be people who say, "Why bother?" So when you present your facts, perhaps when I say you, I'm talking about, everybody who might, you know, sound like or agree with what you're saying. When you present your facts, you're able to say, okay, you might be skeptical, but here's why you shouldn't be skeptical. See, if you present it, maybe people will understand it better, why they should act or shouldn't act. And that's all I was doing, playing devil's advocate, so you can
Mhm.
express those things. Because sometimes people watch and they say, and we've seen it. We have seen this. We talked about it during the election last year. Folks will watch Fox News and get a soundbite and go with that, and they haven't gotten the full picture. So I was
Right.
asking you to give the full picture and
Yeah,
throwing
but
things at you so you can give the full picture. So,
mm,
for skeptics.
yeah, but people who watch Fox, I mean, you can't save them. They're part of
Well,
that.
so
They're
we
part
made a
of that
point. They are
mindset.
right. But we made a point, and Greer was at foremost of making this point last year, that the problem is you go into even barbershops, you go into any emergency room, most emergency rooms or clinics or whatever, and what do they have on? What Fox News. And so you get these folks who don't really pay attention to the news. Well, they're getting this information, and they don't understand that what they're getting is misinformation or outright lies. And that's all the news they take in. So that's something to be cognizant of. And that's also why this whole feud and lawsuit between Trump and Rupert Murdoch, that is one of the important things that's going on too. Because if Fox decides to jump ship, then Trump, he has a bit of a problem. He still has others in his pocket, but Fox is his big boy. So
Well,
we'll
I
see.
mean, that's his big boy, but his new big boy is Paramount. So the
Oh yeah,
owner that just bought Paramount is one of Trump's buddies. They've already talked about putting a bias monitor, so that so it looks like Paramount and CBS is going to be the next Fox News.
they bought and paid for. And
Yeah.
it's like those colleges. Oh gosh.
And
And
so
you
what
have
really concerns me about Paramount is, the NAACP has a huge partnership with CBS. They have a soap opera over there. Paramount CBS owns BET Plus. So it will be interesting to see how, if that black soap opera continues, if the NAACP continues their partnership with Paramount, and what happens to BET.
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, Folks, switching gears, the wrestling world continues to mourn the death of Hulk Hogan, who died last Thursday at the age of 71 after reportedly going into cardiac arrest. Hogan was a legend in the ring. Some say a towering presence who helped turn professional wrestling into a global spectacle. From 5 WWF championships to his run with the New World Order, Hogan's star was undeniable, but for many, his legacy goes beyond the ring, and not in a good way. Hulk Hogan wasn't just a heel in wrestling. He was caught on tape, not once, but repeatedly using the N word and expressing his disgust at the thought of his daughter dating a black man. He said he'd rather they be reincarnated as anything but black. And folks, that wasn't his character. That was real. And journalist David Dennis Jr. Was on ESPN, and he is under fire because he didn't pull punches in his reflection for that. And many people are calling for him to either be suspended or to be fired. He says Hogan's wrestling career is no match for his racism, and that he died being known as a racist who also became famous for wrestling. So listen, why is it that when Black folks speak uncomfortable truths about racism, even in death, we expected to stay quiet while the ones who said the words are somehow protected?
Yeah, that debate about Hulk Hogan. I know when I grew up, I loved WWE wrestling. I used to go to the matches, and we used to love Hulk Hogan back in a time. And it's like one of those conversations like, do you separate the image from the person? Now, I am no longer a Hulk Hogan fan, and no longer, because of all of the things that you just listed. And he definitely was a racist. He definitely was a Trump supporter. And it seemed like he leaned into that in his later years. He probably was that all along, but when he was wrestling, we had no hint. He was just Hulk Hogan. And we just rooted for him in the main match. But now we know different of the type of person he is. I guess it's no different from us learning who R. Kelly was. Everybody got their stuff in the closet, and then it eventually comes out.
Well, Dr. Marilyn says hopefully the Hulk comes back as a Black man.
Ooh, and then he'll know how
boy.
it feels, huh? He'll know how it feels.
Oh boy, but the call for this guy, the call for him to be fired, the ESPN guy, or suspended, is absolutely absurd.
Right.
When any other ethnic group, race group, or whatever, however you want to put it, and there's a couple that stand out. When there is an attack on them, a racist attack, whether it be verbal or anything else, particularly when it's verbal, there is pushback in big ways. But it seems like when we push back against a racist who spewed the N-word like, he had a morning cup of coffee, we saw the videos, we know how this man was, but we push back and it's a problem. We should be fired. We should be suspended. We are not forgiven. Black people are the most forgiven. Part of our problem is that we are the most forgiven of all people. We allow things, we let it, when it's done by other people, we are the most forgiven. And so, this is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it always goes back to having tough conversations that this country never wants to have. And it's about race. If we don't ever address race and racism, we're never going to get past the issues that we have in our country. And I think that's just something that white people either, like in Boys in the Hood, either they don't know, they don't show, or they don't care. You know what I mean? It's either one of the three. But Hulk Hogan was a racist, and it's amazing how I know Michael Rappaport put out this big statement. It's like, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to judge him on that. We're just going to celebrate this cultural icon. But he could say that from a white privileged space. As a Black person, hearing him say those things, knowing how he aligns with an administration that is constantly trying to shit on people of color, we feel different about that. So I just think this goes to a bigger conversation of the white and Black issue and how they operate in a space of privilege that they don't even want to, either they don't care or they're just innocently ignorant. And I think it's like so many layers of how white people see us. You have the quote unquote progressives that aren't really that progressive as they say they are. And then you have like the downright racist people. And protecting Hulk Hogan, to be able to say, yes, he was a pop culture icon during a certain period of time when he was with WWE, it's a fact. But it's also a fact that he is a racist. Two things can be right at the same time, but call a spade a spade.
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine. Well, I won't say that. I will just say I can't begin to put not one flower in my head on his tombstone. That's for sure. Some of the comments I wanted to go into. Trixie says he ruined it when he said racist, when he said the racist remarks. RNG has a couple of songs that he believes should be played right now. He's asking Siri. Initially, he asked Siri to play Highway to Hell. MB says these WWF guys are all on steroids, absolutely nuts. Mike V says that's why he tore his wife beater off. He was mad at black folks all the time. And Michelle Madison says she liked this reality show for a minute. And now RNG is asking Siri to play Nelly's "It's Hot in Here." That's a MAGA song for Hogan.
And then Stephanie Humphrey channel says Hulk Hogan was a cultural icon in the 80s. He was. I mean,
yeah, in the 80s he was.
WrestleMania, when that would come on late night at 11 o'clock, and it was like the big main event, and you had the snake guy and Roddy Piper, and you know what I mean? He was a cultural icon back then. Then. Yes. I mean, and to, like I say, that's a fact. I'm not taking that away from him. But as years passed, his true colors came out, and he was a racist, and he was a Trump supporter, and everything that administration is doing right now, from what I know, he was in full support of. So he's not an ally. You know, he's a racist.
And Dr. Marilyn says, yeah, well, you always like, never mind. I shouldn't say that.
Say it.
I was going. My mind had me think that when you said "is" and then you said "was," you always like the racist in past tense.
True.
Dr. Marilyn says, yes, we are by fault. We are too benevolent to others, but not to each other, which is crazy. Dr. Marilyn, 1,000%. 1,000%. That's what I was saying. 100%. RNG says white Americans will try to make you believe they can solve the world's problems, but they are afraid to talk about racism in the USA. Like you said, Miel, there has never been a real conversation about it, and it's a shame.
You know, it's an interesting story. I used to work for Fox, and they were putting together this conversation or this documentary. I think it was back in 2020 about politics and things like that. And so one of the producers called me to get my thoughts, and I'm like, well, are you going to talk about race? I said, because you cannot have a conversation about politics in the state of our nation and not have a conversation about race. Right. If we're not talking about race, we're not going to change it. And the person turned red, like, And so it's like, okay, they never want to have the real intentional conversations about about systemic racism and about how it's woven in every fabric of this country, including news, including television, including pop culture. It is woven in everything. So until white folks want to start having a real conversation, we're never going to fix or have a more perfect union or have a true democracy, because white folks are always going to want to have the one hand up on people of color.
Yeah. And Dr. Nicole says she liked to watch wrestling with her brothers back in the day, but not one tear. Yeah, but she says not one tear was shed for Hulk Hogan.
You know, last week they were like, please don't put you know, black folks love to say it happens in threes, right? And so last week you had our beloved Malcolm Jamal Warner, you had Ozzy, and you had Hulk Hogan. And I saw so many black people saying Malcolm is not part of that three. Don't put him with them. That ain't the three we looking for. That ain't our three.
Boy, oh boy. Folks, switching gears, if you stepped outside this week, if you plan to step outside this week, you might feel like the air itself is pressing down on you, and you will not be alone. Nearly 200 million people across the country, from the Dakotas to the Deep South, all the way up the East Coast, are under extreme heat alerts. Temperatures are soaring into the triple digits, and when you factor in the humidity, it's reaching levels that our bodies simply aren't built to endure. This isn't just another hot summer. Cities like Tampa Bay, New York. Tampa, actually, I was surprised, Neil. Tampa hit 100 degrees the other day, and people might
Wow.
say, so what? Well, Tampa hadn't hit 100 degrees in over 100 years. And
That's
I was surprised to,
interesting.
right. I was surprised to learn that.
Yeah, because Florida's
It's
such a
in
hot.
Florida.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, and so cities like New York and Atlanta are posting near record levels of heat. In some places, it feels like 115 degrees, and we're not talking Vegas or Arizona. We're talking East Coast. We're talking everywhere. Storms are building across the Midwest as well, folks. So there's a lot of danger. And listen, how long will we keep calling this unusual when it's clearly becoming the norm? And what happens to the millions who can't afford to outrun this heat?
Right. And it's not just heat, it's flooding as well. I know yesterday having heavy flooding hit parts of the Metro Detroit area. And then we saw what happened in Texas with the floodings that came out of nowhere. Just our weather in this country is bananas. Okay. And so you don't know if you're going to get a flood, if you're going to get a heat wave, and with the heat waves, I pray for our seniors that don't have air conditioning. You know what I mean? There are just so many factors and let's take it a step further, Stacey. Before Trump, there were programs and mechanisms to have, or cooling stations to have in our communities to help combat the heat for those who didn't, the have-nots, right? Well, all that type of funding is gone away. You know what I mean? It is strained, or it's about to go away. And so it's a trickle down effect. When we think about heat, there might have been programs in our communities where, the elders could get a free air condition. Well, that ain't happening no more.
Yep. This is a state of emergency when it comes to the weather. But again, Black folks get the brunt of it. Trixie says that being Black and allergic to the heat is driving her crazy. Every time she sweats, she breaks out. RNG, I wondered, he says it's so hot in New Orleans, the devil is selling ice on the corner. Is it flavored ice? Is that the same
shaved ice?
Is it shaved ice? Is that the same devil that was in bed with Trump on that show?
South Park.
I just want to know. Yeah, and Dr. Marilyn says stay hydrated and check on our elders. They don't like to use AC. Dr. Marilyn's in Texas, and she says it's brutal. And Mike V says Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accords in January. Absolutely, Mike. And of course, the homeless population. You want to, or the the unhoused population?
Yes.
RNG. He says is increasing, and they have no real place to stay cool.
And the funding for those programs, the Trump Klan administration is cutting the funding for these community services and programs. And so, you might hear before there's going to be a cooling station at Sutton Community Center, or the church on the corner, they got a grant and they giving out air conditions to people over 65. It's gone. So it's a trickle down effect. And it ain't just the heat that's going to impact us. It is the resources that are provided from the federal government that are no longer there to help our communities.
Yeah, and you mentioned cooling stations. I was writing for the Washington Informer yesterday, and I had to locate. There's a map of cooling stations on a website. It's a district run website, and they still have quite a few cooling stations in the nation's capital. So Mayor Bowser is handling that situation pretty good, and hopefully people take advantage of that there in DC and wherever you might be. But you're right, you won't, as time goes on, if this is allowed to continue the way the Trump Klan, as you say, administration continues, you will not be able to find things like cooling stations at all. Man. So let's turn our attention now to Deion. Deion has spent his Deion Sanders, that is, has spent his life breaking records and redefining greatness from the NFL Hall of Fame to the sidelines at the University of Colorado. But now he's sharing a very different kind of victory. In a candid press conference, Coach Prime revealed he was recently diagnosed with bladder cancer. Doctors did catch it early during a routine scan, something he only gets because of prior health issues. Remember that. He gets that scan because of prior health issues. Folks, we have to take control of our health. We know, Neil, that we don't get a fair shake even at doctor's appointments or at hospital visits. And if Deion didn't have these prior conditions, he could be it could be a different conversation we're having.
Right. Much prayers go out to him and his family. But there's a second story, Stacy.
Yes. I'm
that
glad
is
you brought it up.
That is brewing with this situation. It is the soft launch of his relationship with Karrueche Tran. And so, everybody's like, well, it's the perfect time to kind of ease that on out there because he's 57 and she's 37. And a lot of men have been catching flack for dating these younger girls, although she's 37. So, there's a conversation that's not being had that probably would have been had if they just would have hit the red carpet at the ESPY Awards, but now it's like, not now.
My guy Prince said it best. He said, he asked the question, what's the difference between a broke handsome man and an ugly rich man? Folks,
are you saying Deion is ugly?
I didn't say Deion was ugly. I'm making a point. I didn't say he's ugly. How does I mean, first of all, before I say this, let me ask you, since you said that, do you think he's handsome?
Oh, I think Deion is attractive.
Okay, good. But
even if he only has 7 toes,
I was going to say, how does a man with no toes and no bladder pull a chick like Karrueche?
Well, you have to remember too, it's not just about looks, it's about swag. That's prime time. Deion has a lot, he's charismatic, right? He has a lot of swag. And so
Chris Brown. Go get him, Chris Brown.
He made a statement this morning, and a shady statement. He said, what did he say? I forgot what he said, but he said, I'm going to pray on it. He made a very basic statement about how some things still get under his skin, and he said he's going to pray on it.
Go get him, Chris. I'm with you, Chris.
But I just think and that's what I mean about being charismatic. If you were going to do a soft launch to test the waters, this is the perfect way to do it. Because who's going to say anything?
Flag on the play. Mike B says at least Niel is 10 toes down for him.
Well, I'm 7 toes down because he only got 7. He only got 7.
That's terrible, Mike. Mike has no filter.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think though that it's smart. You know what I mean? Because all of the conversation is on hoping that he gets well, and that's the priority. We love Deion Sanders. We love what he does for the sport of football. Even though some people don't like it, it's what the sport needs to keep people talking about it. People are still hoping that maybe he may end up as a coach in the NFL. So we love Deion. So if he was going to do something because the conversation now is, it's taboo for men to date younger women. You will get dragged now. But before you wouldn't. But then we were talking about white privilege earlier. What's the difference between Deion Sanders and the owner of the New England Patriots?
No, he's not the owner. He's a former coach.
Former coach. What's the difference? What's the difference? That girl's way younger than this situation.
Yeah, there's a big difference. First and foremost, like you said, what's his name? Come on, y'all. What's the coach's name there? Yeah, I've never Belichick. Bill Belichick. First of all, he's like pushing 80. He's 70-something years old, I think, and the girl is like 20. That's to me, it's absurd. I don't care who you are. That's absurd. 57 and 37. I'm not too, especially their new couple. He didn't pick her up when she was 18, 19 years old. I'm not too, that doesn't bother me. And I'm sure for some people it might bother, but I'm sure I would find a lot of people that is okay. 57, 37. She's a grown woman. She's not a child,
No,
and
she's
he is
not.
not, and he is not, he's not of retirement age or anything like that. He's 57 years old, and so would I date a 37-year? I'm 57. Would I date a 37-year-old? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. She has to
Okay.
bring a
Not
lot of,
sure. Okay.
yeah, right. At this stage, I mean, she would have to bring a lot of intellect to the table, and I need not see any child in her. Um,
You
so,
said I need
but
not see any child. Well, that
that Shannon Sharp thing, I don't care what anybody say. I hope she got every penny of that 50 million from him simply because he was stupid. But nonetheless, I digress. But 57 and 37, she is right, Michelle. That is grown. So I don't have a problem with it. But I'm here for. I got my popcorn and everything. I'm waiting for Chris Brown to finish contemplating what he might say.
Oh, he did. He posted a cryptic message last night.
Right. I want him to expand on it. I'm here for it.
I mean, that is
I
like
think Chris Brown. People need to leave Chris Brown alone.
well, Chris Brown shouldn't be speaking vaguely or
well,
not. That ain't his grown. They haven't been
that's
together
not
for 10
right.
years.
You're right about that. You're right, and he's wrong about it. But in most cases, I think that's been going on with Chris Brown. I just feel like, and I'm not a Chris Brown fan.
What
but
Orange G says, heck no, I don't want a woman in here in her 30s. I'm
Right.
50. Give me her auntie, mother, or grandma.
See, I like that. Right. There you go.
But Michelle Madison says that's not that great of a difference. 37 years old is grown. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, well, here's the real problem, and Dr. Joni has brought up the real problem. She's younger than his daughters. That's a problem for me. That would be. I would never.
Well, wait, no,
never.
No. His daughter with the child, with Jacquees, is 34. She's 37. And the other daughter, she's in her 20s because she goes to an HBCU and plays basketball. So technically, she's not younger than his daughters. She's like 3 years older than his eldest daughter. I'm just saying, she is older, not much older. She's, but she is older.
It's not a Jerry Lee Lewis situation.
I mean, it's just the side eye information. It's like the timing of it. Like, you make this announcement on Friday that you're gonna make a big announcement on Monday about your illness, and we get the announcement, and then we get all these videos with this young woman by your side.
Right.
Like, it's smart. It's smart PR. It's smart PR. That's what you call a soft launch. It's like sticking your toe in the water to test the temperatures.
Oh my gosh. These people need to get they need to get a real life. These celebrities, this soft launch and everything. Who cares? Then when somebody start questioning you and ask questions about your relationship, then you get all, it's my personal business, but you're throwing it all out there. They need to go sit down with this soft launch, this co-parenting and all that stuff. These people get on my nerves.
But whoever his publicist was, I mean, it was a good idea. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't walk he was sick during the ESPY Awards, but when the NFL events come up and his football games, his season starts, he may want Karrueche there. And so this is a great way now that it's out in the open. Guess what? She could pop up with him anywhere now because it's out.
He didn't want Karrueche there. He more than that, he went. Moving on. Michelle Madison said her men have always been older. What is the other headlines and hot topics you got going
Yeah,
on
that's
before
all
I get
you got. Oh,
myself
you
into
want to
trouble?
move on? You don't want to
Yeah,
talk. You don't want to
I'm
talk
gonna
about
get
it
in
no
trouble.
more.
I'm gonna get in trouble. It's a morning where I needed some sort of elixir, and I'm gonna get in trouble. So let's go move on here.
Okay. Well, let's head into Ohio, where former Ohio police officer Adam Coy has been convicted of murder in the shooting of Andre Hill. Now, Andre was a black man who was holding a cell phone and keys when he was killed. Coy shot Hill 4 times in a garage in December of 2020 as the country reckoned with a series of police killings of black men and women and children. So Coy told jurors that he feared for his life because he thought Hill was holding a silver revolver. He was given a mandatory sentence yesterday of 15 years to life, and Coy told the court he plans to appeal, stating, "I feel my actions were justified." But, accountability, which is something that we probably wouldn't even expect to see today. But a black man killed and justice was served, and he got the mandatory 15 years. And because this is state, he will have to serve that. Now, if there are federal charges brought against him, we know that the Trump clan can, pardon him. But right now, justice is served for Andre Hill.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not a federal situation, which is good.
Yeah. Moving on, a new report is revealing that black women are the most burdened by pay to stay prison debt. Now, the Prison Policy Initiative confirmed 37% of the local jail and state prison inmates are identified as black. Now, 37%, and black people make up less than 13% of the population overall, but 37% are filled with local jails and state prisons. Now, those handling their prison debt are often the black women left outside. We talked about this several times. Now, currently, 48 states allow charging incarcerated people with pay to stay fees, with 42 states legalizing room and board charges. So in 48 states, people have to pay for, inmates have to pay for room and board. And that basically falls on their families to take the burden of that. And this law was enacted in 1970, and it is still rolling today.
So my crazy question would be, if you got to pay room and board in prison, if you don't pay, will they evict you?
Well, I mean,
Listen.
a lot of the
Call the sheriff.
Right. A lot of it falls on when they're released, right? Then they have
Right.
this big debt to pay. And of course, it's going to take them a minute to get a job because, it's hard for an incarcerated person or, a person re-entering society. And so that burden typically falls on the black woman.
Yeah, everything falls on the black women. This country, this world.
Right.
Black women they've always carried the burdens.
And then you want us to save the world, and then you don't want to respect us for doing it. Okay, moving on. A Venezuelan baseball team has been denied visas into the United States and will miss this year's Senior Baseball World Series. Now, this is Little League. I'm talking about Little League, y'all. Now, the Senior League Baseball World Series, a tournament for players aged 13 to 16, is played each year in South Carolina. And this is building attention to the World Cup that's supposed to happen next year, because if players aren't allowed into the United States to participate, then where does that leave the World Cup? So there are talks for it to go to Canada, and these young boys were left out of the opportunity for probably the biggest moment of their lives. So it will be the 3 countries are hosting the World Cup. 48 teams between July 11th and July 19th, and they will play 104 matches, with most of them supposed to be played in the United States. And so if this is happening to these young boys, where does that leave us for the World Cup, Stacey?
Yeah, well, what's interesting, I was watching a little bit of the game last night, the San Diego Padres It's so interesting that San Diego, right at the border, the Padres, which is Mexican for father or fathers, they have a lot of Latin American Latino players. They have some superstars over there. Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, among others. I was wondering, like, the deportation. Do they worry? Do these players worry about ICE? I'm here to tell you that I won't be surprised that that's going to be a target eventually too. Those players will be targets as well.
Well, they're already being targeted. I know some soccer players have been detained by ICE. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that it does worry them because they have no respect for anybody that's not white. So they don't
Yeah.
care if you're a millionaire baseball player to a 12-year-old who has worked, who has done their competitions, who have made it to the world stage, and they can't even come here on a visa to play a baseball game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just horrible.
I mean, come on. But on a brighter note, we're going to stay in sports. Congratulations goes to Baba Wallace, who became the first Black driver to win a major race on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's famed 2.5 oval. Now, Wallace secured the win in the Brickyard 400, overcoming an 18-minute rain delay, fuel concerns, and 2 overtimes. So thriving in race car driving.
Yeah, he's done a lot of great things since joining NASCAR, and it's just another example of when Black folks get involved, especially regardless. I mean, some people don't consider race car a sport, but it is under the umbrella of sports. When Black folks get involved, Black folks take over. Bottom line.
And this is really a white man's sport. And so, remember, was it him where they found the noose in his garage? Or it was him, right? So he's probably pissed them off again. So we have to pray for protect him.
But just real quick, Dr. Nicole had mentioned to Niel. She says, like Niel mentioned last week about the tournament in California. Not having these folks, it's going to cost the city and states a lot of money when they take them away and go elsewhere. Racism at any and all costs. It's a shame.
It's a shame. And those are your headlines for today.
And folks, we got a black fact for you, a couple black facts. One of them is on this date in 1940, African-American tennis players were able to swing their tennis rackets on the same court as their white counterparts. Interracial matches were held for the first time ever on the courts of the Cosmopolitan Tennis Club in New York City. Grand Slam tennis legend Don Budge and American Tennis Association champion Jimmy McDaniel desegregated the sport in a game that ended in Budge's favor, 6-1 and 6-2. Budge then teamed up with American Tennis Association player Dr. Reginald Weir in an interracial doubles match against Richard Cohen and McDaniel. Weir would later go on to become the first African American to compete in the U.S. Indoor Lawn Tennis Championship in 1948. So there's a really cool black fact for you.
For sure. I love it. All right. Do I have one? Yeah, I do. Today is Four Tops Day. Okay. On this day in 1987, Michigan Governor James Blatcher declared July 28th Four Tops Day to honor the quartet's contributions to music. Now, the group performed at the governor's meeting with guest saxophone player, Arkansas Governor and future President Bill Clinton. He backed the act on stage to honor the quartet's contribution to music. So happy Four Tops Day. What's your favorite Four Tops song, Stacey?
Probably Standing in the Shadows of Love.
Okay. Chat, chime in. What's your favorite Four Tops song?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had a chance to meet and talk with Obi and Duke some years ago, obviously long before their passing. But not more importantly, but there's one. I got a trivia question for you. There is one person who I know, who I knew, I should say, personally, who was the only person ever to sing lead for both the Temptations and the Four Tops. And his name is Theo Peoples from St. Louis, Missouri. Theo sang lead for several years of the Temptations. In fact, he's on one of their Grammy winning songs from the 80s, I believe, or 90s. The only Grammy win they got. And the song is like on the tip of my tongue, and I can't even come up with it. But Theo also would later go on to leave the Temptations for the Four Tops and sang lead for them. So there's a little trivia for you.
Nice.
Bernadette is what Sandy Jones says, and Dr. McCall says, I'll be there. Reach out. I'll be there. And Ain't No Woman, MB says. Like
is that song? I like that. Yeah, I like that one. Okay.
Yep. So you're getting some responses to your questions. The Four Tops, another great group. We don't see. It's unfortunate, like that's why I think it was so refreshing.
I like Still Waters. Mm-hmm,
Still Waters, yeah. But that's I think that might that's not the song. But one of a kind, Love Affair is another one. But that's why New Edition was so important in the 80s because we had lost and we don't really have it today. That group that is synchronized, they dress good and everything, and they're doing their thing, style and class. We don't really have that, or do we? Am I missing somebody?
No, not today. I mean, you had it. You had the evolution of it in the 90s, like with Jodeci. That was a big group, and then you had today. You had in the 90s. You had it. New Edition is the standard, though, right? They were the standard, but today, no. I can't think of one group today. That's a boy band. I can't. That's really think of one.
I saw a video, and this is I'm not putting them in this category because they're white. But I saw a video of Usher at a Backstreet Boys concert the other day. And he was having a great time in the audience, dancing and singing along.
With his wife.
Lydia Matthews said, "I'll Be Around" is her favorite. So yeah, that's another great one. Wow.
So it's Four Tops Day. So make that the soundtrack of your day.
Yeah, you got a lot to choose from.
Yeah, you got a lot to choose from.
Wow. After 7 was good, Patricia Jackson says. So we can go on and on.
After 7. But see, but who can we name today in the 2020s?
Trixie says this band Soulified. She says there's a new band and they're actually good. Okay, we're gonna have to check out Soulified. I've not heard of them, but now
Drew Hill. Yeah, the Drew Hill was the 90s, early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. Yeah, Drew Hill, Cisco.
Silk, you had Silk.
Lose Control. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, you had them, but today, who do we like? If we were to think about what's on the radio today, who's the boy band? Oh, somebody, I've got the Spinners in mind. Now that's 70s, right? 70s,
well,
80s.
I think she had named a song that might have been the Spinners song. "I'll Be Around" is probably.
I love the Spinners too. I mean, music back in the day, the message, the meaning was so much deeper and more beautiful than what we hear today.
Do people still? Greer's asking. This is a good question. No, the Jonas Brothers don't count. People.
That's like New Kids on the Block. Even though we like New Kids on the Block.
But Greer's asking, do people still listen to the radio? Do y'all still listen to the radio?
Sometimes.
You do?
Only every now and then. Most of the time I have Tidal. That's my preference of streaming apps. So my car is pretty much set to Tidal, but every now and then on a Saturday morning. Stevie Wonder's radio station here in LA on Saturdays, I'm telling you, download KJLH radio app from the mornings to the afternoons. They do this thing called the Royal Battle with Guy Black, and they'll do like In Vogue and maybe SWV versus TLC, or they'll do the Four Tops versus the Temptations. Patti LaBelle versus Gladys Knight. And so you have this back and forth with the music, and people call in and they give their thoughts. And then in the afternoon, they have a Caribbean vibe and Afrobeat. So on Saturdays, I tend to tune into KJLH because the music is just nostalgic. It's fresh. It's worldwide. And so, yeah, on Saturdays, I listen to the radio.
MB says the music industry is not that supportive of creativity. And that's true.
No.
That is very true. And Dr. Nicole listens to Sirius XM. So there you have it. There, yeah. That was a good, maybe we should have done the Four Tops earlier so we have more time to talk about that.
No, but somebody brought up the T app a little in the early part of the show, and we're going to talk about the T app tomorrow. Have you heard of the T app, Stacey?
Now I have. I was today 8 years old. And don't forget, speaking of music, folks, tune in on Thursday. We got my guy, the one and only Chuck D joining us on Thursday morning.
That should be fun.
It should be lots of fun.
Chuck fight the power.
Yeah, he's always fighting the power. And Chuck and Public Enemy, Flavor Flav and company just came home from Australia and I think New Zealand or wherever else they were, the UK and other places with Guns N' Roses. They were on tour with Guns N' Roses. And not only that, Chuck has a new album. Public Enemy has a new album out. And which just a few weeks ago, Chuck gave Greer and I the privilege of an advance on the new album. He
nice.
had texted us and he shared with us the new album, and so we were able to get a listen to it even before it was available. So Chuck is going to come on, and he's going to talk about stuff like that. And he also found out something, folks, that may surprise you and may not surprise you. He and Flavor Flav, they just found out that they're actually cousins. How about that? Okay. Flavor Flav. Yep. We had Flavor on last year. Flavor was a lot of fun. So we're going to have Chuck on Thursday. So check us out. Our Black-owned newspaper of the day is the Madison Times Weekly. The Madison Times, one of the oldest minority businesses in Madison, Wisconsin, enjoys significant community recognition. Next year, the newspaper will celebrate its 35th anniversary and count as one of the oldest minority businesses in Madison. The Madison Times has a strong presence in its community. Its journalistic excellence attracts a diverse audience with people with over 24,000 people reading it every single week. The Madison Times is delivered weekly to over 200 locations in Madison and the surrounding area. So check out the Madison Times, check out their website. And if you're in Madison, Wisconsin, hey, go pick up a physical copy of the Madison Times Weekly.
That's right. And to keep up with what's happening in this crazy nation from the Black point of view, you can head over to blackpressusa.com with stories from all of the NNPA's Black publishers across the country.
And RNG says that's how he found out about Let It Be Known. We had interviewed Chuck maybe 2 years ago, Greer. We've had Chuck on once or twice, maybe twice. And that he says that's how he found out about it. So cool. So maybe some more people will find out about it after Chuck graces us with his presence on Thursday. So check us out. But don't wait till Thursday. Come back tomorrow. We got some other stuff. See you then.